In the last 24 hours, Etna did something that often goes unnoticed. It stayed quiet. No lava fountains lighting up the sky. No ash clouds closing airports. No red warning lines on aviation maps. Just a handful of tiny earthquakes deep under the mountain, almost all too small for anyone to feel. For a volcano like Etna, that kind of silence is not the end of the story. It is the start of a very important question. If you live near Etna, or you have watched its eruptions in the news this year, today's picture almost feels wrong. No fresh lava spilling down the flanks. No towering ash column drifting over Sicily. No headlines about Catania Airport shutting down like during some of the big episodes between February and June 2025. The latest advisory from the Toulouse Volcanic Ash Advisory Center is calm and clear. Aviation color code green. No eruption. No volcanic ash expected. There has been no newer bulletin in the last 7 days that changes that message. For pilots and route planners over the central Mediterranean, Etna is not currently a threat to jet engines or flight visibility. For people on the ground, there is no new ash on cars, no fresh dust on balconies, and no sudden closures because of falling cinders. Here's the important part. Green does not mean the volcano is off. It means that at the surface there is no significant ash or explosive plume right now. The official records still describe Etna as active. It remains in a long-running eruptive phase that began in late 2022 with alternating periods of lava ash and strombolian activity. Today simply belongs to the quieter side of that pattern, a day when the action has shifted from the open sky back into the rock. In the next part of this update, we will go below the surface and listen to Etna's heartbeat over the last 24 hours. 9 tiny earthquakes, all smaller than magnitude 2.1, and what they really tell us about a volcano that looks calm on webcam, but is still adjusting and breathing inside. While the surface stays calm, the inside of Etna is still moving. In the last 24 hours, earthquake summaries list 9 small quakes around and beneath the volcano. The strongest reached only about magnitude 2.1. Others sit in the 1-point-something range. One tiny event of about magnitude 1.4 was recorded roughly 40 kilometers north of Catania in the early hours. Another around magnitude 2.0 was located near Bronte on Etna's western side. The rest are similar small signals scattered around the mountain. On paper, these numbers look unimpressive. No magnitude 4, no deep, sharp jolt that sends people running into the street. Most residents never feel a thing. Here's the important part. For a large active volcano like Etna, this pattern is not abnormal. It is almost exactly what scientists expect to see on a relatively quiet day. Smaller earthquakes below magnitude 2 or 3 are part of how the system adjusts itself. Rock cracks a little, old fractures open and close. Fluids and magma move slowly inside the edifice. Each tiny slip releases a small packet of energy, too weak to shake houses, but strong enough for sensitive instruments to pick up. If those quakes suddenly changed in number depth or strength, that would be a different story. Right now, they sit in a range experts describe as routine background activity for an active stratovolcano. This does not mean every day with 9 tiny quakes is safe forever. It means that today the picture matches a breathing but not breaking system. Seismographs show motion. Webcams show no new ash or lava. Aviation maps show green. For a volcano as productive as Etna, that combination is a snapshot of a low surface activity day, not a guarantee of long-term silence. And this is where it really matters for people who follow Etna from afar. If you only watch the dramatic clips, you see a monster that wakes up, erupts, and then goes back to sleep. The real Etna lives on a different time scale. It stays active for years at a time, with days like today, when the only signs of life are small, regular heartbeats deep inside the mountain. In the next part of this update, we will zoom out from the last 24 hours and look at the bigger frame, how Etna's official alert level, its continuing eruption status, and its recent history of big ash and lava events fit together, and what that tells us about whether this quiet day is a pause before the next show or simply one calm page in a very long story. To understand what Etna is doing today, you have to zoom out far beyond a single quiet day. On paper, the official status is simple. INGV, Italy's National Institute for Geophysics and Volcanology, lists Etna as active. The current alert level is described as basic. the lowest operational tier meaning there is activity, but no crisis phase or high emergency in progress. The Smithsonian's Global Volcanism Program puts Etna in the category of a continuing eruption. In their files, this latest eruptive episode began in late 2022 and is still running with phases of lava ash and strombolian bursts coming and going over time. Here's the important part. From the volcano's point of view, today's quiet surface is not the end of an eruption. It is one frame inside a long, ongoing sequence. Just a few months ago, on the 2nd of June 2025, Etna reminded the world what the livelier pages of that sequence looked like. A large steam and ash column rose high over Sicily. Lava activity picked up. Air traffic around the island was disrupted with some flights delayed or diverted, while ash was in the air. For people on the ground, that meant fresh ashfall closures and a familiar mix of fear and fascination as the sky turned gray over Catania once again. Days like that and days like today live in the same story. In one chapter, the volcano is noisy fountains, ash closures. In another, it is quieter green code, tiny quakes, no fresh lava. The key is that the underlying system has not switched off between those chapters. Magma is still present at depth. The conduit is still capable of carrying gas and melt towards the surface when conditions line up. The long-term label continuing eruption is a way of saying, do not treat each flare-up as a brand new volcano waking up from centuries of sleep. Treat it as the latest pulse in a body that has been active for years. For scientists in civil protection in Italy, this long view changes how they work. They do not wait for a single surprise explosion to start paying attention. They track tremor levels, gas emissions, and deformation all the way through the quieter days as well. A run of calm surface images, plus routine small quakes, like we have seen in the last 24 hours, fits the pattern of an active volcano in a low phase, not a dormant one. If those signals change, if tremor rises, gases jump, or small quakes cluster in a new way, they are ready to move quickly from basic up to higher alert levels. And this is where it really matters for anyone watching from outside Sicily. If you only drop in when Etna makes global headlines, it looks like chaos. Sudden eruptions, airports close, then silence. When you look at the full record, it starts to look less like case and more like a long breathing cycle with noisy exhale phases and quieter inhale phases all inside one extended eruptive period. In the final part of this update, we will leave the instruments and talk about what this actually means for people. If you live near Etna, fly over it, or simply follow it from abroad, how should you read a quiet green code day like today? What is the right balance between respect and fear, and where can you go for clear, reliable information before the next big episode arrives? For people who live around Etna today, does not look like a disaster movie. There is no ash falling on balconies, no bright lava fountains in the night, no urgent messages about closed runways or canceled flights. On webcams, the volcano looks almost calm. A bit of steam, a solid cone, a winter sky. It can be tempting to breathe out and say, so that's it, Etna is done for now. Here's the important part. That is not how an active volcano works, and it is not how you should read a green code day. If you live on the slopes of Etna, a day like this is really a reminder to use the quiet time well. It is the moment to check, not to forget. To make sure you know where to find the official information from INGV's Etnian Observatory, to know which local civil protection channel will tell you if the alert level changes, to look once at a map that shows whether your home or your usual routes lie in areas that have been affected by ash or lava in past eruptions. Those are small, boring tasks on a calm day, but they are exactly what makes the difference when the volcano moves back into a louder phase. For people who fly over Sicily, a green aviation code is good news. It means that today, no volcanic ash is expected in the cruise levels over Etna. Airlines can plan routes without last-minute detours. Pilots can focus on normal weather instead of ash avoidance. But even here, quiet does not mean forget. The same satellite systems and advisory centers that are showing no VA expected now are the tools that will issue fast, clear warnings if Etna sends ash back into the sky. Knowing that those systems exist and that they work is part of why flights can safely cross this region at all. If you follow Etna from Germany, the UK, the United States, Canada, or anywhere else, days like this are an invitation to understand rather than just react. When the next spectacular eruption goes viral, you will already know what continuing eruption means, what a green or yellow code means, and where to look for reliable updates instead of rumors. You will see the big event as one peak in a long series, not as a shock that appeared from nowhere. And this is where it really matters. Because fear feeds on surprise. Respect grows from familiarity. A quiet day with 9 tiny quakes, a green ash advisory, and no new lava is not a reason to ignore Etna. It is a chance to learn its language while the stakes are low. To see how the volcano behaves when it is only breathing, not shouting. To connect the dots between the instruments, the webcams, and the lives of people who see that cone every morning from their kitchen window. So if you live with Etna in your skyline, or simply care about how our planet works, the message tonight is simple. Enjoy the quiet view. Use it to prepare, not to forget. The volcano is still there, still active, still part of a long story that will outlast any single day's bulletin. The more calmly and clearly we read that story, the better we can live with it when the next chapter turns the volume back up. If you want steady, clear updates like this whenever Etna Campi Flegrei or any other volcano changes its behavior, and when flood storms or other natural hazards make the headlines, consider subscribing to this channel and turning on notifications so you do not miss the next update. And tell us in the comments, how do you feel when you see Etna quiet like today? Relieved or uneasy knowing that this calm is only one part of a much longer cycle?